Hi guys, this is Harish Kumar Reddy. Welcome to DevOps World. So as so far we discussed about Ansible commands. So now today I'm trying to go with introduction of webhooks. Okay. So we'll try to recap what is Ansible and how we can work on the Ansible actually. Okay. So basically, if you're working on Ansible, definitely you need to understand very clearly, so you need to work on the architecture part. Okay, that's very, very important for us. So for this, I'm trying to go with one. So I can try to recap the architecture so that we can try to work on the webhook concept. Okay, so here in this case, what we are trying to see here is we are working on controller mission. So we have a controller, and we have this is a host one, host two, and host three. Okay, so host one, host two, host three. Okay, I can call this one as a controller. I can call this one as a controller. I'm trying to work on the controller part. I'm trying to work on the controller. Controller. So in controller is also called as inventory file. Inventory file. Okay. So here in this inventory file, what I want to say here is I'm working on Ansible configuration here. I'm working on Ansible configuration. So basically, if you're working on Ansible configuration, we have server one. Suppose I'm taking some servers, guys. Server one. I'm trying to go with server two. I'm trying to go with server two. Server two. And I'm trying to go with server three. I'm trying to go with server three. Okay. So I'm working with three servers currently. So this is server one. This is server two. And this is server three. Okay. So currently, as per our scenarios, so whenever you're trying to work on the Ansible like controller, so whenever you're trying to inject any file in controller machine, automatically the controller will try to send to server one, server two, server three. That is called configuration part. Okay. So Ansible configuration management will try to give whenever you're trying to work on the scenarios, and we are working with server one, server two, server three. Okay. So now in this case of scenario, what I want to say here is whenever you're trying to work on any files, that we are working with server one, server two, server three, based upon the configuration management. Okay. So, and I want to tell you about the webhooks. Webhooks is something where we can connect the servers on the basis of HTTP. Hypertext Transfer Protocol. We are working with Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So webhooks are user-defined callback to allow the Ansible to notify the external services. To maintain the external services, we are trying to work on the events. Okay. So whatever you're trying to take any file in Ansible controller, the controller will try to replicate with this based upon the HTTP, that is server 1, server 2, server 3, on the basis of external factors. We are working on the external factors. That is called webhooks actually. Okay. So webhooks is something where we can try to authenticate with the different types of servers. We are trying to work on the workflows. Okay. So this is called Ansible configuration management. Okay. So now in this case, what I want to say here is I want to tell you about Ansible webhooks. So webhooks are user-defined callback that allows Ansible to notify external services upon specific events. Specific events. Okay, so this is called webhooks. And what are the benefits of Ansible webhooks? Ansible webhooks. So what are the benefits actually? So we need to work on this. The first one is we need to go with automate workflows, and second one is we are working on integrate with external tools. Okay, next third one is we are working on enhance we are working with enhance collaboration and fourth we are working with improve auditing and logging. Okay, so this is called benefits of Ansible configuration. And so we are working with Ansible webhooks configuration. Webhook configuration. In this webhook configuration, the first one is which we are trying to go with webhook plugins. So we are trying to go with enable webhook plugins in ansible.config. Ansible.config. We need to mention here like this. So we need to go with like this. Okay, we are trying to work on the Ansible web.config. Okay, next, and after that, what we are trying to go with like this. Okay, we are trying to work on the structure now. So webhook. Okay, we are just closing this and we are trying to go with enable equals to true. So we are working with true. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do. After that, what we are trying to go here is, so since we are trying to work on the webhook URL. So here, what we are trying to do, we are trying to go with specify the webhook URL, uniform resource locator. So here we are working on uniform resource locator in ansible.config or we are working with playbooks. So that's why we are working on playbooks, guys. So as I told you that in previous class, I was working with the ad hoc process and playbooks. Why? So that's why I'm trying to go with introduction of webhooks, guys. Why we need to go with webhooks means we need to work on the playbooks here. Okay, so I'm trying to go with syntax we are trying to go with webhook underscore URL. So URL, we are trying to work on the linking process. So we are working on linking process here. We are giving flower brackets. So we are working on link available, unavailable. Okay. So here, next one is webhook events. So here, webhook events means define events to trigger webhooks. Okay, so I just want to give the example for this so that you can understand very easily. So playbook underscore start. So playbook underscore finish. Okay, so we are working on like this. So so that it will be very easy. So that we are working on web hook. We are working with payload payload equals to, I'm trying to open this one. So here we are working with playbooks like this. See here, just go with the playbook. So we are trying to close and we are working on this. So just we are trying to go with the quotations, open. So just open this one. So we are trying to go with playbook. So just after that, we are trying to close this. Okay. So close this and this one you can close like this. Okay. Next, we are trying to go with next one is status. Next, we have a status. Open. So after that, we are trying to work with status. So next, and we're trying to close like this. Close. Okay. So then after that, we are trying to go with close. This is the syntax for the webhook syntax, guys. So this is completed webhook syntax. Okay. So the next one is which we are trying to go with webhook authentication. Webhook authentication. So what is meant by webhook authentication? Configure authentication. Configure authentication. So like I can go with example, guys, to understand this concept. Okay, I can go with API key. I can go with username /password. Okay, so I can go with syntax for this also. Syntax. So for this, we are trying to go with webhook. I'm going with authentication. Okay, just I'm trying to open the brace and we are trying to go with like this. Okay, so please try to learn all these syntaxes. That's very, very important. API underscore key. Okay, so close. Okay, so we are working on your underscore API underscore key. Okay, just close this. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do. Next, coming to, we are working on Ansible webhook modules. We are working with Ansible webhook modules. In this webhook modules, first we are trying to go with webhook. We are trying to go with send notifications. Send notifications to webhook URL. So you are trying to send the notifications to webhook URL. Okay. So then what is number URL here? So we are trying to go with URL. So here we are working with send HTTP request. Send HTTP request to webhooks URL. So this is what we are trying to go. Okay. So now here in this, we are trying to go with one more example to work on this progress. Ansible webhook examples. I'm trying to go with Ansible use case. Okay. I'm trying to go with this. So here we are trying to go with first, I can try to interlink with the GitHub only because we majorly a lot of the members know only GitHub. So I'm trying to go with GitHub. So here in GitHub webhook, how we can work on this webhook. Okay, so here we are working with like this. First, we'll try to go with the, I can go with the name. So because you need to know this, what is the, so how we can work on this name. So I can just go with notify GitHub. Next, we are trying to go with webhook. So now in this webhook, we are trying to go with the URL. So here you need to specify link Link unavailable. Link unavailable. Okay. So next we are trying to go with payload. So payload. So this will be very helpful in playbooks, guys. I just want to tell you once again. Okay. So we are working with event. I'm trying to go with type. So I'm trying to go with playbook. I can go with start. Okay. So next I'm trying to go with client payload. Client payload. Just we are trying to go with the payload. So we are working with playbook. I'm trying to open this brace and we are working with playbook. And I'm closing this body. Okay. So here you need to notify all these things. Very, very important, guys. Okay. So that's why I'm trying to say this, why we need to go with playbooks actually. Okay. So this is what we are trying to go with webhook concept today. So basically what is webhook? I just want to revise you once again so that it will be very understandable for you also. So basically what is webhook is? Webhook is trying to call back to your Ansible notify external services like events. So we are working on events actually. So we are working on events. So here, whenever you're working with events, we are trying to go with automate web. So we are working with automate web flows and integrated external services and enhancing the configuration. And we are trying to go with audit login. Okay, so this is what we are trying to go. So tomorrow onwards, we'll try to see how we can work on the ad hoc process, how we can work on the playbook process, guys. Okay, so that's why. I'm trying to go with introduction today. So what is webhooks actually? So how we can work on the playbook concept. Okay, so this is what. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask me in comment section so that I can tell you what is this again. Okay, in practical sessions. Don't worry, I'll try to go with practical also for this. You need to understand very easily for this. Okay, so this is all about today's class, and thank you so much and have a nice day, guys.